In 1970, one of the most powerful men on the planet bent down to lift a barbell, and in 1 second, everything he had built was almost taken away. No warning. No opponent. No fight scene. Just a wrong movement, a sharp crack of pain, and a doctor's voice telling him words he never expected to hear: "You may never do martial arts again." The man being told this was Bruce Lee. And what he did in the year that followed didn't just save his career. It quietly created one of the most famous pieces of writing in martial arts history, a letter he wrote to no one but himself. This is that story. By 1970, Bruce Lee was already something rare. He wasn't famous yet, not the way the world would come to know him. But in Hollywood circles, he was the martial arts instructor to the stars, having trained the likes of Steve McQueen and James Coburn. He had played Kato in The Green Hornet. He had opened his own martial arts schools. He was fast becoming a legend among people who valued speed, precision, and power. Bruce trained obsessively. He didn't just want to be good, he wanted to understand the human body better than anyone else who had ever studied it. He read anatomy books. He experimented with resistance training long before it was common in martial arts. He pushed his body to limits most professional athletes never touched. But that obsession, the very thing that made him extraordinary, was about to turn against him. One afternoon, during a routine training session, Bruce was performing a good morning exercise, a weighted forward bend used to strengthen the lower back and hamstrings. He skipped his usual warm-up. He bent forward under the weight of the barbell, and something in his lower back gave way. The pain was immediate and severe. He had damaged the fourth sacral nerve in his spine, a serious injury that doctors told him could be permanent. The diagnosis was devastating. Bruce Lee, the man whose entire identity was built on movement, on speed, on the body as an instrument, was ordered into bed rest. Doctors told him he might never kick, spar, or perform martial arts again at the level he once had. Imagine that for a moment. Everything Bruce Lee had built his life around, taken away in an instant, by his own body. For most people, this would be the end of the story. A tragic footnote. The martial artist who got hurt and had to stop. But Bruce Lee didn't accept that ending. What most people don't know is how hard this period actually was for him. Bruce was confined to bed for months. He couldn't train. He couldn't teach in the way he was used to. For a man whose body had always obeyed his will instantly, lying still was its own kind of torment. Friends and family later described this time as one of the lowest points in his life. He wasn't just physically hurt, he was mentally shaken. His finances were tight. His career, which had been building momentum, stalled completely. There were real, quiet fears that he might never walk without pain again, let alone fight. This is the part of the story that rarely makes it into highlight reels, because it isn't triumphant. It's just hard. It's a man in bed, uncertain, in pain, watching the thing he loved most slip through his fingers. But it's also the part of the story that matters most. Because greatness isn't built in the moments when everything is working. It's built in the moments no one is watching, when the outcome is still unknown. While he was confined to that bed, unable to train his body, Bruce Lee did something remarkable. He trained his mind instead. He began reading obsessively, philosophy, psychology, martial arts theory. And out of that period of forced stillness came a document that fans and scholars still study today, a personal letter Bruce wrote to himself, titled My Definite Chief Aim. In it, he didn't write vague hopes. He wrote it like a contract with himself, specific, deliberate, almost businesslike in its clarity. He described exactly the kind of actor and martial artist he intended to become. He wrote about achieving financial success. He wrote about bringing martial arts philosophy to the Western world in a way it had never been presented before. He dated it. He signed it. This wasn't a man hoping things would get better. This was a man deciding, from a hospital bed, exactly what his comeback would look like, before his body had even proven it was possible. That distinction matters. Hope waits for permission. Bruce Lee's letter didn't wait for anything. It was written as though the outcome was already decided, and his job now was simply to walk toward it. Recovery was slow and far from guaranteed. Bruce had to relearn how to move without triggering the pain. He adapted his training, shifting toward exercises that protected his spine while still building strength. He studied nutrition more seriously. He became, if it's even possible, more disciplined than before. Slowly, month by month, function returned. It wasn't a miracle overnight, it was a grinding, patient rebuilding of a body that had betrayed him. And what came after is history. Within a few years of that injury, Bruce Lee would go on to make The Big Boss, Fist of Fury, Way of the Dragon, and ultimately Enter the Dragon, the film that would introduce him, and martial arts cinema itself, to the entire world. The man doctors once said might never fight again became, in the eyes of millions, the greatest martial artist the world had ever seen on screen. So why does this story matter, decades later? Because most of us will face our own version of that barbell moment, the instant where something we've built our identity around is suddenly, painfully taken away. An injury. A failure. A diagnosis. A setback that arrives with no warning and no fairness. In that moment, we have a choice, even if it doesn't feel like one. We can let the injury write the ending of our story. Or, like Bruce Lee, flat on his back with no guarantee of recovery, we can pick up a pen, literally or figuratively, and write down exactly who we intend to become on the other side of it. Bruce Lee once said, "Defeat is a state of mind, no one is ever defeated until defeat has been accepted as a reality." He didn't say that as a slogan. He lived it, in a hospital bed, at the lowest point of his career, with nothing but a piece of paper and absolute clarity about what came next. The barbell that hurt Bruce Lee's back could have been the end of his story. Instead, it became the origin of one of his most defining ideas, that the mind can decide a future the body hasn't earned yet. If you're going through your own version of that moment right now, hurt, stalled, uncertain, maybe the lesson isn't to wait until you feel ready. Maybe it's to write the letter first. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.